Hey everybody, it's Mr. Wagstaff. All super cool stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk some more about Andrew Jackson. The stories today are absolutely crazy. There's never been a president like him when he came in. So historically, as a teacher, it is fun to talk about him because it's not like talking about, James Monroe, all right? Who we talk about the Monroe Doctrine, and that's about it. With Andrew Jackson, there's no shortage of stories to tell about him. Let's not necessarily confuse with the enjoyment of learning about him and the excitement of it with him always being a good guy. All right, just like World War II is really fun to learn about. It's complicated, fun to learn about. Doesn't mean that Hitler's a bad guy. Probably not a good analogy. I'm just digging myself a deeper hole here because Andrew Jackson is not Hitler. All right, so. Let me make myself smaller here. Boop, 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 boop. So we're going to start talking about what everybody loves to start talking about, tariffs. Now, stay with me. This is really cool. This is top 10 favorite stories in U.S. history. Has to deal with a tariff. The Tariff of 1828. You're like, Mr. Wagstaff, there's no way that a tariff is going to be a cool story. Oh, but there will be. All right. So, tariffs. Tariffs are a tax on imported goods, goods that come into the country. So what happens is that England and Europe is selling a bunch of stuff over in America. All right. However, the thing is that the stuff they're selling in America competes with the stuff that we have in America. So when their stuff is cheaper, people buy the foreign stuff and aren't buying American-made stuff, which hurts American businesses. All right. So tariffs, all right, is the idea that you will increase the amount of a product coming in from another country in order to make our products more competitive. You know what? Let me jump ahead here for a second. And where we go to, that's right, Mr. Wagstaff does math. So let me simplify that for you because it's a relatively, the concept isn't super difficult to understand, but if you're not understanding it, you might not understand why people get so squirrely about it. All right, we're going to say everybody is buying Kleenexes. Starts with a K. We'll say Kleenexes. All right. So England, all right, like Mr. Wax does some math. He's just writing letters. I realize that. Stay with me. You got England, and America. All right. So England, they're selling their Kleenexes, the same Kleenexes that America makes. They're selling them for $2 over here. Beep, beep, beep. All right. America, we sell our Kleenexes for $3. All right. Now, the Kleenexes, or anything that's being made, is being made in the manufacturing part of America, which is going to be in the north, right? In the northern part of the United States. Andrew Jackson, the president, he's from the South. So everybody's like, yeah, he's going to look out for the South. Well, Andrew Jackson, when he's president, does do what he believes is best for all of America. Not just the North, not just for the South. He thinks he's going to do what's best for everybody collectively. All right? So he sees this and realizing that America's being undersold by England, everybody's buying the England Kleenexes. When this happens, what happens is the factories up north are struggling because they can't sell their products. So what Andrew Jackson does, all right, is he is going to add a tariff. So a tariff is an add-on to stuff coming from the other country. So he's going to add plus $2 to everything coming in from England, which means if you want to buy English Kleenexes, and I'm just making that up, you have to pay $4 for it. Well, how much is American Kleenexes? Still $3. Guess what everybody's going to buy? They're going to buy the American product. Fantastic. It saves businesses. Everything is great. So this is the logic with the Tariff of 1828. This is all it is, all right, is that he is going to go through and he is going to add a tariff on imported goods to convince people to buy American products to help American businesses. The South goes ballistic over this. Here's why. They go to the store to buy Kleenexes. They used to be able to buy Kleenexes for $2. South is poor, remember. Thanks to old Andrew Jackson, the guy that's supposed to be on your side, What's the cheapest Kleenexes you can buy now? $3. They don't give a crap if it's from the north or the south or anywhere. They don't care. England, France, they don't care where it's from. They just want it to be cheaper. To the south, all that's happened is it jacked up prices. In addition to that, guess what we're not being able to buy stuff for, or guess who's not selling stuff over here is England. So everything that we ship to England, they, over in England, all right, and this is for England, they're going to start adding export goods too. So over in England, it might be $5 for American Kleenexes or $2 for English Kleenexes. They'll never buy American products anymore. And the South, who ships a bunch of cotton over there, all right, is very upset of this massive import tax, which hurts the South. So the South feels like England and France will no longer buy from them or be able to sell stuff over there. In addition to the actual prices of stuff in the South has gone up. The South is furious at Andrew Jackson that he has put this tariff, and they don't even call it the Tariff of 1828. They call it the Tariff of Abominations, like the abominable snowman. They are furious against this. So the story gets pretty crazy right here. Let me back out of that. So, click on that. So again, here's the northern, don't want to do that. Beep, beep, beep. The northern perspective is it makes foreign goods more expensive, which is good for them. People buy more U.S. goods, good for the northerners. And the northern industrial states profit from the increased business. Great for the north. The south, no. The South thinks it makes everything more expensive. People are buying more U.S. goods, which makes England and France jack up the price of their tariffs, and it just hurts the South. So the South absolutely hates this. Now, here's where the story starts getting good. All right. So this is awesome. So Andrew Jackson, who was expected to be taking care of the South, all right, his vice president is John C. Calhoun. You can pick your vice president at this point after the whole fiascos with Thomas Jefferson being the vice president. His vice president is John C. Calhoun, who is the vice president and the governor of South Carolina, it seems like, at the same time. Apparently, you can have the same job twice simultaneously. Seems like a conflict of interest today. But John C. Calhoun is furious about this. Furious that this tax gets made. So John C. Calhoun, all right, charges into Andrew Jackson's office and is like, what is this? This is some bull crap. And now, keep in mind, this is Andrew by God Jackson. You don't bow up to Andrew Jackson. But John C. Calhoun does. All right? So John C. Calhoun, he is sitting here and he's like, wait, what now? All right? Or sorry, Andrew Jackson, he looks up. And here's what John C. Calhoun says to him. I imagine John C. Calhoun's like looking down at him at the desk and is like, you're not going to do this. He says, you're not going to make us pay this tax. And Andrew Jackson's like, yeah, I am. Like, because Andrew Jackson gets his way. He's like, yeah, you are. And John C. Calhoun's like, no, we're not. And you can't make us. And Andrew Jackson's like, excuse me, young man. Again, Andrew Jackson still has 2 bullets in him from previous duels. Yeah, not a guy you want to mess with. He's like, what now? He's like, and John C. Calhoun says, if you try to force us to pay this tariff, we're going to secede. The South believes that they have the right to nullify this law, meaning that they think that if they don't like a federal law, they cannot pay it. Andrew Jackson's like, oh, you're going to pay it. That's when John C. Calhoun says, we'll secede. We'll go be our own country if you try to make us do it. What now? So John C. Calhoun's put on his big boy pants and stood up to Andrew Jackson. And so Andrew Jackson, he is expecting him to explode and yell at him. And Andrew Jackson goes, oh, okay. I'm cool with that. Go ahead, do it. Go ahead. Go secede. And John C. Calhoun knows this is a trap. He's like, I'll do it. And Andrew Jackson's like, oh, please do it. Go ahead. Best luck to you. And John C. Calhoun's like, he's like slowly walking out the door like he's going to do it. He's like, oh, all right, I'm going to do it. And as he turns around to leave, Andrew Jackson's like, and just 1 second, so we're all on the same page here. Here's what's going to happen, all right? You're going to go secede from the United States, and you're going to be the country of South Carolina, all right? I've already got 100,000 troops in Charlotte, North Carolina, I'm going to march right into the country of South Carolina the first day that they become a country. I'm going to march right to the Capitol, and I'm going to murder every single person in their illegal government. All right? I'm going to find their leader, and that's you. And I'm going to hang them with my bare hands from the first tree of of South Carolina. You ever seen the moon and the tree of South Carolina? Like their symbol, that's the first tree, which is a real tree. I don't know if it's still there or not. Anyway, so I want to hang you from that tree. And I'm going to leave you there for a week so everybody can see what happens when you try to leave the United States. And then, after I've killed everybody, they're going to have meetings again. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to vote to join the United States again. And you know what they're going to do on the first day that they join the United States? They're going to pay this tax. Andrew Jackson ain't playing. He literally wants this to happen. He's like, fun. John C. Calhoun is terrified. John C. Calhoun is like, oh. So in history, they say they compromised. All right. Here's really what the compromise is. And Henry Clay had something to do with the compromise after this. But the compromise is Andrew Jackson won't kill John C. Calhoun if John C. Calhoun agrees to pay the tax. And that was the compromise they came up with over the Tariff of Abominations. For the rest of his life, John C. Calhoun, because he keeps a diary, he literally thinks, after Andrew Jackson starts being president and all that, he is literally concerned that Andrew Jackson will show up one day and kill him. Because he disrespected him, he really is concerned for the rest of his life, looking over his shoulder, waiting for Andrew Jackson to show up and attack him and shoot him for talking trash to him. That never happens. But no, it did terrify John C. Calhoun. He bowed up to him one time. It didn't go well because Andrew Jackson's a man who expects to get his way. And in this case, he absolutely does. So this is a picture of Andrew Jackson saying you have 100,000 men in South Carolina to enforce the tariff in a matter of weeks. This is actually a painting. Obviously, this part here is added. This is a painting of Andrew Jackson. So Andrew Jackson dresses like a vampire. And nobody makes fun of him because it's Andrew Jackson. So Andrew Jackson literally just he wears a cape. You know how awesome it would be? Not necessarily anybody can wear a cape, but it looks weird. But to wear a cape and be so intimidating, nobody makes fun of you for wearing a cape. It's awesome. Awesome. This, I have a little cartoon here. I thought it was pretty cool. I'll make myself a little smaller here. Actually, I might move myself off the screen. Hope I can remember to move myself back. It's like a minute and 20 seconds of this situation.
In the last episode of History Sci-Fi Theater, the North had come to love tariffs because they made people buy more American manufactured goods, while the South hated tariffs because they hurt trade with Europe. And now, this week's episode. In the dark recesses of his underground laboratory, Dr. Regional Division transmogrifies North-South tensions into the Tariff of Abominations.
It's alive!
Southerners fear the tariff,
Run for your lives!
It'll ruin our economy.
while Northerners don't mind it at all.
It's kinda cute, really.
What a sweetie.
Andrew Jackson's vice president, John C. Calhoun of South Carolina, says the South has the right to secede or withdraw from the Union.
Either that thing goes or we go.
But President Jackson isn't having it.
You'll stay in the Union, whether you like it or not.
We'll not.
Will too.
Then lock up that monster.
By 1832, there were newer, even bigger tariffs, and the country was on the brink of civil war. When Jackson and Calhoun brought in respected statesman Henry Clay, who had previously developed the Missouri Compromise of 1820 to tame the beast.
I'll save the day. Unity is more important than tariffs.
And so a compromise was reached. Northerners accepted lower tariffs, and Southerners remained in the Union. Henry Clay had once again defeated the evil Dr. Regional Division. Or had he?
So I thought that was pretty good. I will tell you, I realized halfway through that I was messing with the audio a little bit. I don't know how that sounded on your end, but I got to do some guesstimates after that. But 20 minutes in, we ain't stopping it now. All right. So the questions here: why did the South refer to it as the Tariff of 1828 as the Tariff of Abominations? Why did they feel it was awful, but the North supported it? and then explain what happened between Jackson and Calhoun, and how did this interaction affect Calhoun the rest of his life. We talked about those in detail, so pause that and answer those in complete sentences, and we'll move on. All right, so Jackson and the Second National Bank. Perfect example. So it seems, again, something else that seems boring. You talked about a tariff. He makes it exciting. You talk about a national bank. He's actually going to make this exciting too. So Jackson, he comes in and he's not a fan of the bank. This isn't something that has offended him once he gets into power. He doesn't like the national bank to begin with. So the United States used to have a national bank. There was, Alexander Hamilton had one, all right? And then after it went away, they brought back again for a second one. What a national bank is where the government takes all the tax money and they put it in a bank. That bank then has the ability to make money by giving out loans. But the bank, just like any bank, can choose who they give loans to and who they don't. Well, the National Bank, and this is what ticked off Andrew Jackson, National Bank is crazy rich and powerful because all the tax money gets put into the National Bank, so they can do whatever they want with it. There's a couple of things that he didn't like about it. Number one, there's no congressional oversight over what the bank is doing with the tax money, which luckily they never did anything really dumb and lost people's money, but that could have happened without any oversight. The second thing that really irritates them is they get to choose who they loan money to. The National Bank, which is at the time it's called the Second National Bank, only loaned money to the Northerners. All right, only loaned money to millionaires up north where they get their money back. Andrew Jackson's from the South. There is no investment being put into the frontier or helping out people in the South, and they're very selective. So it clearly benefits the North. And he's from the South. He's to represent the South. So he really doesn't like this. So what Andrew Jackson does is he comes in and he decides he's going to battle the National Bank. All right. Now, he didn't make the National Bank, and the National Bank is run by Congress. So he thinks it's unconstitutional. Very much Thomas Jefferson mentality. Not the fact that he supported small government, he just didn't like it. So he's like, it's unconstitutional. So he takes his argument in front of Congress. Keep in mind, while the American people love Andrew Jackson because he's a hardcore redneck just like me, Congress, not a big fan because he's a hardcore redneck. So he asked Congress to rule it unconstitutional so it can be thrown out. And they're like, no. So they just say no to him. Now, Andrew Jackson gets his way because it's Andrew Jackson, and that's what Andrew Jackson does. So Andrew Jackson, I don't know why it's so funny to me right now as I'm thinking about it. So Andrew Jackson's like, fine. So here's what we're going to do. Since I'm in charge of the federal government, we are going to no longer put tax money in the bank. Period. They're not going to get any more income. They get no more money to loan out. So he takes all the money and he puts it in smaller regional banks in the South. He does some in the North too, but mainly in just smaller regional banks. And then he takes out every penny that exists. As the president, he has the right to do this. Takes out every penny that exists in that national bank and puts it in other banks. Nobody's losing money or stealing money. It's just that the national bank has no more money. And when they have no more money, it's a bank. He kills it. So not only does he crush the bank, when it comes up time when he's president to sign it to extend it, he's like, no, absolutely not. So even though they couldn't rule it unconstitutional, he was like, I'm going to do what I want to do. So he takes all the money out of the national bank, puts it in other banks, and just bleeds it dry. So Andrew Jackson, once again, when Andrew Jackson wants to do something, he gets it done. This is Jackson slays the bank. We present day don't have a national bank today. So the big difference in the national bank and a regular bank, a bank today, you make money when you deposit your paychecks in it. They take your money and then loan it out to people. That's how banks make money. The national bank, what it is, it takes your tax money and then loans out your tax money to other people and makes interest off of it. It's basically, depending on how you look at it, it's either a really good idea or pretty messed up that the government is selling your money back to you for an additional profit. So the national bank is not a thing that exists anymore. We do not have a national bank where we invest the tax money in order to sell the tax money to make more money for the government. So the questions here are: explain why Jackson disliked the Second National Bank. We talked about that, about where he's from and what the National Bank stood for. And then how is the National Bank different than the banks that we have today? So explain like what a typical bank does and what the National Bank does, and basically where their money income comes from. All right. Now let's get to the most controversial part of Andrew Jackson's time in office. The Indian Removal Act. All right, this is just a straight jerk move. He's just like, hey, we want to move to Georgia. And obviously there's a bunch of Native Americans still in America that don't like having their land taken from them. And they fight back to the settlers that come try to steal their land. So Andrew Jackson has a bill passed called the Indian Removal Act that says Indians have to move, like at gunpoint. Just move you away, give up all your lands, and see you later. So they passed the Indian Removal Act under Jackson. He created and had the bill passed. So this sparks a couple wars, like the Black Hawk War and Second Seminole War. When these things happen, that's all we're really going to talk about it, because it doesn't work out well for the Indians. Except one of the Indians, all right, or a group of them, decides, you know what? They're going to fight fire with the way America does things. They're not going to try to militarily fight them. They sue the United States government to be able to keep their lands. This case goes all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court listens to the Indians say, we were here first, we get to keep the land. The Supreme Court listens to them. And the Supreme Court is going to agree with the Indians. They're like, you're absolutely right. We can't make you leave. Absolutely not. So the head justice at the time is John Marshall. John Marshall is still the head of this court. John Marshall has been here since George Washington. So he's basically like a founding father. So he's been here long after all these other presidents are gone, and he's older now. He is not a big fan of Andrew Jackson. He doesn't like all these changes and differences and the things that Andrew Jackson is doing. Even though the Marshall Court, John Marshall, supports federal government growing, with the way Andrew Jackson is doing it, he is not a fan. So he realizes that this is an overstep by Andrew Jackson. So he tells Andrew Jackson he must stop. You cannot do this. Not a thing. You can't make a move. All right. So Andrew Jackson gets this memo saying you can't force all the Indians off their lands. Because the Supreme Court has ruled that it's illegal, you can't do it. So by doing it, you would be breaking the law. Andrew Jackson's response is, oh, if John Marshall wants to come stop me, then tell him to get all his guns and come on. Oh, he doesn't have any guns? Oh, that's right, because I have all the guns. Okay, well, when he gets some guns, he can come tell me what to do. And blatantly refuses to acknowledge what the Supreme Court has said, clearly breaks the law, and forces the Indians off their land, which is called the Trail of Tears. So here's a picture, just a painting of the Indians being forced to march across the country. So here's the different routes, like, here's North Carolina and Tennessee area, Georgia, forced to march all the way over to the middle of the country. A lot of these people are sick, unable to move, older people, and they're nonstop forced to walk every single day. If you got sick, they didn't stop for you. They just left you in the morning at camp in the middle of the wilderness and you died. Tons of people died in this. 1 out of 4 died. All right. They did not have a break for 116 days. Yes, they were able to stop and sleep, but say you fell and hurt yourself, or you got the flu or something like that, you had to keep walking, and you had to walk for like 15 hours a day. If you didn't, they just left you. And so 25% of the natives that were forced to walk and go on the Trail of Tears died. Not only that, it was a clear violation of the United States government for what we had said. So the question becomes, why? Why in the world, if Andrew Jackson clearly broke the law, is he not held accountable? Like, this is what you get impeached for. You break the law as the president, you get impeached. If you're found guilty, which he clearly did it because he was proud of it, you get kicked out of office. Why was Andrew Jackson not held accountable at the time? Here's why. Because he was crazy popular. So who brings him up on trial or on charges is Congress. So while Congress is appalled by this, they're not going to impeach him. You know why? If you're a representative or you're a senator and you try to impeach Andrew Jackson, all the people that vote for you are going to be furious at you and you're going to lose your reelection. It's politics. Because he was so popular, he got to literally break the law, and people literally died from his decision because he was so incredibly popular. It's like, yeah, that seems pretty bad. As we get further away from it, we're like, holy crap, that is just awful. Like, how did the United States government, the president of the United States, go through with that? Like, our Supreme Court called it illegal. That's why, in retrospect, as we move through history, looking back at Andrew Jackson, we're like, that's one of the reasons they're talking about taking him off the $20 bill, is because while he was loved while he was a president, looking back on it, you're like, man, that was pretty messed up. Is this a guy we want to glorify in American history and, continue to put up as the, one of the creators of American executive branch with the Trail of Tears as part of it? So Andrew Jackson was not punished, though he blatantly broke the law when he refused to follow the Supreme Court's ruling on the Indian Removal Act. So why was that? Why was he not in trouble when he clearly broke the law with that? So go through, pause me if you need to, answer that in 2 complete sentences, but I believe that is as far as we're going to get today. So I will see you guys tomorrow.